you start going down that road, I don't think that's the way the Constitution is structured. I'm a Federalist. I believe in deferring to the states, and I think that's what was important there. But at the end of the day, right now, where we're headed and moving forward is to try to make sure we've got strong elections, which Democrats in Austin don't want to fix, and try to make sure that we've got the ability of the American people to trust elections and then move forward with an agenda that isn't a radical leftist one, which is what we're seeing every day.
The law that they're trying to pass on voter integrity is it HB1?
Well, in the right now in the special, it's HB3 and SB1, I think. I was going to double check. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just call it the voter election.
Yeah.
They're trying to nationalize elections.
Are you talking about in Washington? We're talking about HR1 is the federal bill in Washington.
Yeah, HR1. There we go. We're live already? You already took us live? All right. Hey, Joe Hyde with San Angelo Live. We have a special treat here. We have a congressman from the Hill Country, the second most beautiful part of Texas after San Angelo, representing CD 21, and that's primarily Kerrville and Fredericksburg. Right?
Part of the Hill Country and Bernie, New Braunfels, Austin, San Antonio is a pretty sizable district. It used to be that 21 came out here and represented San Angelo and all the way to Midland, but now it's the kind of heart of the Hill Country.
All right, so you have an interesting past. You started off in law school with John Cornyn, right?
Yeah, I worked in the Attorney General's office while I was in law school. I clerked there, and then worked on what was going to be his re-election campaign. Phil Gramm announced his retirement. John Cornyn ran. I worked on his campaign. Then I went to D.C. to work on the Senate Judiciary Committee for him as a lawyer.
And then you worked for Rick Perry.
Worked for Rick Perry. In fact, and I was diagnosed with cancer while I was working for Rick Perry. He was very good to me. In fact, 10 years ago, I think yesterday, I'm pretty sure. And worked for him for 3 years, helped him write a book, worked on his campaign.
So the book you wrote was Fed Up.
Yep.
And that book was the book that Perry used to run for president.
Well, and it outlined it. We wrote the book. It was not really designed for that, but then ended up being sort of central to it. But about his belief that, in my belief as well, that our constitutional order was being ignored, and that we want to make sure we're protecting Texas and protecting states, and frankly, being able to agree to disagree. And you're seeing it right now unfold. The problem we see in America, where we're not living that way, and we're trying to force decisions down from Washington. It doesn't work.
So the book was primarily a constitutionalist book. It had a lot of emphasis on the 10th Amendment. What the federal government doesn't do, the states need to do. Right? Our states have the right to do.
That's right.
And then after that, you joined the Cruz train, right? Senator Ted Cruz, and you were his chief of staff for a while.
Yep. No, I mean, I saw how important it was to get Ted elected respectfully over then Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst. We needed a fighter in Washington, and then he asked me to go be his chief of staff, and I agreed and did that for a couple of years before coming back to Texas.
Now, Ted Cruz has kind of become a firebrand, and I don't know, I won't say a bomb thrower, but he's smart about it, and I think we're lucky to have him representing Texas because. Have you seen some of his recent floor speeches? Are just excellent.
I was on the Senate floor, believe it or not, as a House member last week, as we were taking on our objections about what's going on with all the mask mandates and the tyranny coming down from Nancy Pelosi, threatening our staff, saying they're going to arrest our staff, which is absolutely absurd. It's not based on science or data at all. And we went over to the Senate to have a little bit of a kind of protest, and Senator Mike Lee spoke. Senator Cruz spoke with a fiery passion, and Senator Cruz gets it. He understands the importance of liberty and freedom and making sure we're protecting our citizens, but leaving them with free will to make decisions that's right for their families, and we've been working hard together on that.
One of the things that's interesting about your career and about your record is that you have, because of your legal background and your constitutional beliefs, you took a different tact on the November 3rd elections. Can you kind of explain, like I would say we were talking with Senator Perry beforehand, that probably more than 50% of this district here, of this area, I'm saying Lubbock, Midland, San Angelo, Abilene, probably feels that there were some shenanigans going on with that election on November 3rd.
Well, I can tell you there were shenanigans involved with the election. In fact, the first thing I did the week after the election was fly to Atlanta, Georgia, meet with people about what went on in Georgia. My friend Jody Heiss and the Freedom Caucus is running for Secretary of State there because there were enormous concerns about what was going on in Fulton County. We have strong concerns about what was happening in Pennsylvania. And right here in Texas, I can write you chapter and verse about what's going on here in Texas in terms of potential fraud. And in fact, we questioned the witnesses that we had on the oversight committee some Texas Democrats who fled Austin to go to D.C., and I raised those questions. They have no way to refute that. But at the end of the day, I believe in deferring to states. I do not want Kamala Harris choosing the electors from Texas, and I think we should follow the Constitution. The Constitution says when we choose electors, we send them to Washington. We had one slate of electors. My job was to count those electors and encourage the vice president to do so. That was my position. And look, I put it like this. Scalia and Thomas disagreed often on the court. In this case, Mike Lee and Ted Cruz disagreed. I fell in line with Mike Lee, Rand Paul, and others who felt like we should count the electors as sent to us. I stand by that and always will. But I stand behind the president, the former president, and his America First agenda that was a freedom-driven agenda.
All right, so back to the America First agenda. We have and this affects your district too. We have a border crisis. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants coming across the border, flooding across the border. We're not checking them for COVID. We can't quarantine them. We don't have the resources to handle it. What the heck are Republicans going to do about it?
Well, I mean, I can't overstate how bad it is. However bad you as a listener right now are hearing this think it is, it's 10 times worse. You go down to the border, as I have repeatedly, you sit down on the river and you talk to the migrants who are coming over, the cartels that are abusing them, the girls getting sold into the sex trafficking trade. We had 210,000 apprehensions in July. We're well over 1 million this year. We have 8,500 pounds of fentanyl pouring across our border. Texas has had a tenfold increase in DPS finding fentanyl coming into our communities. We have our young people that are dying from opioid overdoses, 92,000 nationwide. You have cartels reaching up into our country. We had 2 people found burned to death in Austin, Texas, we believe tied to cartels. This is real. We need to do something about it. The Biden administration should be ashamed. We should impeach the DHS secretary. We should secure the border. I stand behind Greg Abbott doing everything he can as the leader of this state. But I think we can even go further. And I tell you what, I would consider shutting down ports of entry to send a message to the rest of the country. But we cannot allow this to happen for 18 months. And if Republicans try to use this as a political tool instead of doing what's right now to try to fight for Texas, then woe be to us.
Gotcha. So you're saying that the governor should shut down the ports of entry?
I think the governor should consider all actions, including sending a message to this country that they're not going to get their cheap goods coming up from Mexico through I-35 while our state's getting abused and little girls are getting abused and cartels are getting enriched while Joe Biden and his incompetent administration endanger Texans.
Got it. What's do you think in 2022? They're talking about the red wave, right? Do you think that with the voter laws we have right now that we're going to even have honest elections? I mean, that's what people are thinking. They're saying, well, you can say, well, the Republicans are going to win. They're going to be able to stop a lot of this stuff in 2022. But what if they stuff the ballot box?
Well, I mean, my answer to that is pretty simple. We ought to pass election reform now to ensure that we have the integrity in elections that we can believe in them, okay? And we should do that. And Democrats don't want to have that debate. They want to flee to Washington. They want to ask Washington to step into Texas and interfere with our elections. But I also want to say to all the voters out there, I mean, what are you going to do, curl up in a ball and cry in the corner? Go vote. And go do your part and show up and get involved with the elections and do what you can. Go down, be an election monitor. Go down to your local election boards and make sure that everything's being done the way it should be. And then make sure that your legislature passes a bill right now this summer and hold Democrats accountable for fleeing Texas instead of doing their job.
Well, Chip Roy, thank you very much. He's Congressman representing Kerrville, Fredericksburg, Bernie.
Yeah, all of the
10
counties in Central Texas, Texas 21 between Austin and San Antonio. It's a wonderful district, and but my dad grew up the road in Ballinger, Texas, from San Angelo. This is home for me in many ways.
So you're part of both beautiful areas. Of
absolutely,
Texas, right.
Absolutely. A lot of good hunting out here too.
Well, thank you, Chip.
Hey, God bless y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.